I just need to be saved. If I must be an outcast from society upon returning home once I finish my treatment, I wouldn't be afraid.
More than 50 million people died in Europe as a result of the Black Death. That was in the 14th century. So you would be forgiven for thinking that the plague no longer exists. Well, you'd be wrong. In fact, it seems to be on the rise. In Madagascar, there have been more than 1,800 suspected cases of the deadly disease since August. In that time, more than 120 people have died. And with the plague season expected to last another 5 months, the death toll is expected to rise. The World Health Organization says it could be the worst outbreak in 50 years. And to help treat the infection, the World Bank has released an extra $5 million. But is that enough? And does the outbreak pose a global threat? Well, to help answer these questions and more, let's speak to Tarek Yasharovich in Geneva. He's a spokesperson for the World Health Organization. Tarek, good to talk to you. It's unbelievable when people hear about bubonic plague. They think of the Black Death. They think this was, long in the past. Tell me what's causing this dramatic spread and why hasn't this been stopped so far?
Well, you are absolutely right, Emran. Many people don't think about a plague. But the fact is that every year around the world where plague is still endemic, we see several hundred of cases. Madagascar is one of the countries that sees cases of plague every year and has on average 400 cases. There are other places on the planet where bacteria that is causing plague is still active, can affect rodents and small animals, and then can transmit to humans. So although we don't hear much about a plague, it is still there. The good news is that plague is responding very well to antibiotics and to common antibiotics. So people who get infected can be treated if they are put on treatment very early. Now, why this year is so different from other years? In Madagascar, it is because we see a majority of cases being of pneumonic type. This is the type of plague that is transmissible human to human. And because cases were reported in the capital and also in a bigger coastal cities, we have seen a number of cases that is bigger than usual. And there was a bigger threat of a spread on a local level.
Okay, so you have bubonic, which is a growth and fever, and pneumonic, which is, I guess, far worse, and people get more sick. This has been happening in Madagascar. It is an island, in a way, a kind of natural quarantine, but we live in a globalized world. How scared is the World Health Organization that this is going to spread elsewhere?
So just to explain to your viewers, so bubonic plague is the first stage of a plague when a person gets infected by flea bites that are carrying the bacteria. Then bacteria is circulating in the body, going to lymph nodes, and then we got those buboes that are sort of like symptoms of a plague. Now, if that is not treated, then the bacteria can enter the lungs.
Right.
And at that point, it becomes pneumonic plague, and which means that person can transmit directly to another person by air droplets by coughing. So when we see pneumonic cases of plague, it means that the transmissibility is much higher, and therefore there's a bigger risk. Now, again, we have to be very careful when we characterize the international risk. According to our assessment, the risk of infections at national level in Madagascar is high. At the regional level is moderate, and international level is low. And there are several reasons for that. One, because already Madagascar authorities have put in place exit screening measures at the airports. So people who are obviously sick will not take the plane, and people get really unwell very quickly with pneumonic plague. Within 24 hours, you will have symptoms which will make you simply unable to travel. However, the risk does exist, and that's why it is important that we continue to do what we do on the ground. And this is mainly trying to find everyone who has been in contact with people who we know were infected with the plague, and put them on prophylactic treatment. As I said, a plague is responding well to common antibiotics, and if people who are suspected to may have been exposed to person who was carrying the bacteria, we put them on a prophylactic treatment and follow them for 7 days.
Okay, very finally and very briefly, $5 million released by the World Bank. Encouraging or not enough?
This is really good news that we received from the World Bank, because we need to sustain efforts. So it is really important to say that the numbers are going down. As of yesterday, there were only 26 people in hospitals being infected. That's 10 times less than on October 20th. So in only 17 days, we have 10 times less people being infected. However, to make sure that we come to the end of this outbreak, we need to sustain the efforts. We need to have enough of protective equipment. We need to have case management facilities. We need to continue on contact tracing and the safe burials. And for this, we need funds. And that's why this donation is welcome.
Right. Well, Tarek Yasharovic from the World Health Organization, who are on the front lines in battling the plague. I thank you very much for joining us on the Newsmakers.
Thank you, Imran.